This is going to be going over the upcoming special Mystic Summon, where you can summon any ML5 hero that was released prior, or 6 months prior to April 9th. So it's No School Nurse Yulha, Shepherd of the Dark Diane, Monarch of the Sword of Saria, and Nodos. We'll be going over this one as well as the special, the newbie Mystic Summon. It's the exact same banner, and you really shouldn't be summoning this one, especially for new players. I feel like I should have put something out earlier. I think this banner is complete bait, but we'll go over the ML5 tier list anyways for this, as well as the ML4s, because you can summon on the ML4s for this. Quickly, why do I think this banner, as well as this one kind of, is complete bait? The first reason is that Nodos is the strongest ML5 in the game. Even though this is 40% off, it doesn't matter. This banner is permanently here. You have no reason to rush this. Every single Mystic you have should be going into Nodos. And then we also kind of know who's after Nodos. We don't know her kit exactly, but we know parts of her kit. Like, this is Salome, whatever, and we know that one of her skills lets her turn into the enemy target or an allied target and then use their skill 3. And there are some characters with pretty insane skill 3s. This is especially significant because she can pick her allies too, they said. A lot of copy abilities. Sometimes they can only pick the enemy or only pick the ally, and she can do both. But wait, there is more. If you go over here into the PV, if we go forward a bit, we can see that she still has an S3. So, yeah, we don't know what she's going to do, but she looks insanely broken. So, we know that she is the next ML5, and this is one of the reasons why you might not really want to be summoning. I think this newbie summon banner, because it's permanent, just save it for later. Realistically, all the new ML5s are pretty broken, but save this one for later. There's no rush for it. Let's go to the tier list. So here is the ML5 tier list at the bottom. The ones not available, which is, of course, Yulha, Diane, Asaria, Genesis Ross is free, Mines is a collab unit, and then Nodos is not available, but he's currently on banner for a couple more days, and he is the best ML5 in the game. You should definitely be prioritizing him. And then Salome, I went over just now. She looks really, really broken. Like, we can't guarantee how strong she's going to be, but a copy ability, I think unless she has a very, very restrictive passive, I don't see how that's not going to be good. Because you can run her as an opener. The important thing is she copies their stats. You run her as an opener, or just really, really fast, and then suddenly you're dropping like a base speed an enemy or allies S3 while taking turn 1 could be very annoying. We'll see what her base stats are. Maybe she's too slow for this, or has a restrictive passive like ML Roana. Yeah, we'll see. This tier list is honestly pretty short. I think the only unit you should even consider rolling is Lady of the Scales. None of the other ML5s are really strong enough, I think, to justify skipping or spending Mystics on them instead of Slum. And first off, Nodos, I think, is stronger than Scales. You should prioritize Nodos over Scales. But let's say you hit Nodos early, then you want her over Scales, you can try and go for Scales. And if you hit Scales early, between saving for Salome versus rolling one of the existing ML5s, there's always the question of, these are known quantities. We know that they are very, very strong. We don't know how strong she is. Maybe she has something restricting her and she's not as strong as she looks with that copy ability, and she actually ends up lower down. I think this is, you'll kind of just have to decide whether you think that you want to have something that you know versus going for the unknown, though we do know at least that she copies abilities and she has the extra animation. So Lady of the Scales, I think most people know what she does by now. She just has the passive where the unit in the front takes a bunch of damage share, insane protective unit for both offense and defense in Arena and Guild War, and also in RTA. Really, really strong unit, second only really to Nodos. There's a lot of units that work really well with her, like pretty easy to get ones too, like Elvira is a really strong combo in Arena and Guild War. So yeah, definitely worth picking up. And then, or it's worth picking up assuming that you don't like the Salome thing, whatever. Comparing Owen have her S2 passive, Penres, there's a lot of units with Pen in the game, and she's the only unit that passively has Penres. Blue Diane has Penres in her S3, but it's a buff, and she's the only one who really just gets to have it by existing. I think that alone will make her consistently a useful unit. She's been useful pretty much the whole time since she came out just because of her S2. Briar Witch's area, she's a really, really strong cleave unit, and cleave is a playstyle that needs you to have really high speed gear, especially in RTA. But I think even outside of RTA, she's got insane utility for Arena and Guild War. Just her passive alone is really, really strong, the Extinction, and her S3 is incredibly strong. It's 20 soul, ignore F-res, but it's strip, unbuffable, really good damage, and also a chance for Death Break. It's a lot of utility in her S3. There's not really that many units that can do something like that. So I think she's really, really good as well. Bosaruka, her whole thing is you put her in the front. If you try to hit anybody else, you can't. Any single target attack can only hit her while she's in the front and she has her special little buff. The only way to really get rid of the buff is to kill her, and then she'll get it back on her next turn. Or if you seal her, she'll still have it until she takes her turn because she regains it during her turn. So stuff like that can work a little bit, but yeah, she offers a ton of protection. I think she's very, very useful, especially for new players, just because other people might not have the options to reach your other units. Roll of Light, really annoying revive unit. She just provides so much burst healing and damage limit on her S2, plus the invincibility and full heal on her S3, which also applies to herself. And she has that passive where she's pretty much guaranteed to get a revive off because she gets to revive on death, plus the CR push makes it really easy for her to get a revive off. So just really, really nice unit for, honestly, Arena, Guild War, and RTA for all of them. Just good for PvP. Maid Chloe, I think, provides a bit more consistent healing than Ruel. Ruel's more like burst heals. And then in her S3, gives everybody a revive buff, also revives anybody who's dead, and gives everybody defense buff. And she has a... So Emily, or Imperial Olav, Emily has a pen resistance passive. She has an additional damage resistance passive. So units like Renok, where her S3 has the 7,000 additional damage, the Maid Chloe does not. She'll reduce it. So she's very, very useful for stuff like that. Scales Abundance, she'll also reduce too. I think these are like pretty much the strongest ones that if you really like just want more stuff would be the ones you consider. These 5 units are also really, really strong. I just think it's hard to justify rolling for them with Salome coming out. Newman Luna, her S3, Soulburn, strip everybody, seal, ignore Ephra's. There's a lot of openers that can just outspeed her, but she's still really, really good, even on like a slower build, and you can still cleave with her in like Arena pretty easily. Zio guarantees turn 1. He has some pretty nice like bridges for himself now, and he got his buff for consistency on his S3, Soulburn to ignore Ephra's. He's nice for cleaving, Arena, and Guild War. RTA, it's a bit of a trap trying to pick him just to guarantee turn 1, because that's not necessarily going to win you the match. That's the reason why his win rate is really, really low. There are cleaves that work with him. Just make sure that you're not picking him as like a panic button just to guarantee turn 1. You have to actually like pick proper bridges with him and stuff. Arceti also guarantees you turn 1 as long as it's not versus Zio, because she just flattens everybody else's speed. Still great in RTA for like punishing people who just try picking speed units like without any real sort of like respect for Arceti. You can just pick her and force them to ban her. She has some counters, like if they have an Earth unit already, then Young Senya is a good counter into Arceti, or Aram, who people aren't going to have Aram, but a lot of new players are going to have Young Senya. And she still works good in Arena and Guild War situations, just into some of these defenses are just kind of like a fast unit, and you just snipe them out with her Soulburn S1 plus Actium Soak Flan or some other unit, so she's still pretty solid. Rebellion, her passive turn off souls, is very useful, especially with Freerin running around everywhere. It's also just useful in general into certain setups. There's a lot of like cleaves these days don't necessarily need the souls, but she's still useful. If you don't have 3 of her Glorious Throne, then you give her Arius or her Arius with protection set and just run her as like a tank instead. C5 Apollos is one of the strongest openers in RTA right now, but I rate her lower just because she's RTA only. You don't use her in Arena or Guild War offense, really, and I think realistically, a lot of like cleaving comes down to preference, because you need fast gear to cleave, and you could, in my opinion, you could probably just move your opener gear onto a different unit. So even though Paulus is super strong, do I think you should roll her and define your account around her? I think you could also just cleave with another opener and probably be fine. So factoring into context that we have a cost here of actually using Mystic Metals to get here, I rate her a lot lower, especially given that she only really works in RTA. And all these units here, like, these are all solid units. Well, most of them are solid units. I think some of them I might want to put a little bit lower after looking at this again. Like Witch Lemur Tenebria, insane 4/5 unit. Lone Crescent Bologna, one of the few units that can sometimes work versus Nodos, and she's really good in Arena right now versus some of the defenses. Like, these are great cleave bridges. There's a lot of units here, they're all solid. Not with Salome coming out, in my opinion. Like, we don't know how good she's going to be, but ML5s historically have been really good. Like, if I take these 3 units, School Nurse Yoha, like, goes, like, up here. And then Shepherd of the Dark Diane goes, like, up here with Scales. It's like Nodo Scales Diane, in my opinion. And then Monarch of the Sorceress area probably goes, like, over here somewhere. So, like, they're all upper tier. So, yeah. Salome looks really cool. I settled into the ML4s too. Also, these units all suck. The ML4s, just because on the new player one you can pick your ML4s. Mean Money Dominio is a great counter into Renok. I think if you don't have Summer Hua Young, it's a little bit less good, because one of my favorite things to do is just Summer Hua Young tanks it, and then Midom procs her S2, S3, which then procs Hua Young, and you kind of just like cleave them back. She's still really good though, because you still get her like S2 into S3 to negate everything, but you need a different water unit to face tank it. And she has some PvE usage too, just because her Vigor application can let Firekin ignore F-Res, so pretty nice unit to have. These 2 are speed imprints. Westwind Executioner Shuri is a bit less speed, but his S2 passive is pretty strong, gives bomb on everybody, and then he can detonate it. Wanderer Soak gives more speed, but it's only 2 slots instead of 4, so you have to watch your positioning a bit. I think these 3 are like probably the ones that you'll use the most. Maybe Westman Executioner Shuri a bit less if you don't cleave as often. And same with Wanderer Soak, but Beat you'll use a ton. These ones all have some kind of usage. Assassin Cartusia, I think his usage depends a lot on whether or not you have Lone Crescent Bologna, but he's pretty nice to have in Arena and Guild right now, because you can do Bologna, Setsuka, plus Assassin Cartusia, +1 for Arena, and that's a decent comp into something, so a lot of people are limit testing it a bit too far. I see a lot of ints with it. He also has mild usage in Trial of the Constellation against Ethel, just for provoking, but that's about it. Water Shuri, alternative, speed imprint. They're both Shuris. They imprint each other and also imprint with Red Shuri. I think he's used a bit less than this one, but it's fine. His only PvE usage is in Trial of the Constellations, or hell, if you don't have Genesis Dross. Bloodblade Karn, a lot harder to play her now with a KD running around, but she's still, like, okay in certain spots. So not a bad option to pick up, I would say. Crimson Armin, bunch of damage reduction. I don't think there's like that many spots where you really use her, because there's a lot of damage reduction. Knight's ROL also just got buffed, but potentially a decent unit to just have around. Infinite Horizon Acades, RTA unit in certain situations. more of a niche thing. I think you can pick her up, and she's poked her head into like the RTA like meta a few times here and there. So a nice unit to have her out just because her kit is kind of nice. Angel Light Angelica, kind of a more recent thing, popping up as a counter to Tactical Archetype Caldi, which is kind of interesting. And then you can add in is mainly just for Trial of the Constellations against Ethel. She's one of the best DPS there. You don't necessarily need her, but if you can pick her up for relatively free, then you might as well, in case you get like insanely lucky on your ML4 hits. And then General Purgus is one of the options for your AoE stun against Rahel. You can also, like, there is a method where you can do Moon Bunny plus Watcher Shuri and just kill the like everything with these two together, but General Burgess does make it a little bit easier, and he also allows you to auto it. The units down here, they're not like super good, but like you might find mild use out of them. Like I've used these units at one point or another recently. Like Sinful Angelica, mild PvE usage. Richard Rose, you can use her for buff stacking. A-Lot, his S2 attack buff CR push plus weakness exploit. Useful in very niche situations, though it has to be manual because he has 3 first normally. Shooting Star Arcades, the funny 3-turn immortality, has some fun applications, especially with ML Ron. Tempest Sur and Hall of Trials, I've used her like once. And then Fighter Maya, her S3 nuke is funny. I don't think it's necessarily needed. I think it's just funny. And then Guider Aether uniquely can be imprinted with Ice Aether, who's a 3-star. So you can kind of generate extra silver transmit stones that way, which probably won't be a huge deal. You start overflowing on silver transmit stones eventually, but yeah. And then I'm actually not sure if any of these like ML4s aren't available. I think Wretched Rose was the most recent one. I don't know when she came out. That is it for the ML4 and ML5 tier lists. Again, Nodos, Salome are probably the more important units for us to be summoning.